This is the story of Fatima, a young Muslim girl who moved to a Catholic boarding school in the southeast of Nigeria. While struggling to navigate fitting in among her new peers and being away from her family, she realized that her new school had very dark secrets in the closet. But first, please hit the subscribe button. St. Mary's Black Chapel. Part 1. St. Mary's Girls' Academy was a prestigious Catholic boarding school known for its high standard of education, serene environment and advanced infrastructure in the early 2000s. A lot of young girls looked forward to being accepted into this prestigious academy, but not 13-year-old Fatima, who traveled from the bustling city of Kano to the far end of Awka in Anambra State. Fatima could hear her own heart pounding in her chest as she stepped out of the car when they finally arrived at the grand gate of St. Mary's. Her gaze went all over the seemingly never-ending compound. Everything about this place felt foreign to her. The air was different, the language, the faces, even the prayers were going to be different. In Kano, her life was predictable, and her Muslim upbringing was familiar in the city. Here, it felt like she had stepped into a new world, maybe, because she had. She could feel the weight of the curious eyes from the students, wondering who the new girl was, as she made her way into the school compound. The students walked in groups, on their way to their various classrooms, laughing and chattering in Igbo, a language she barely knew and absolutely could not understand. She felt a pang of loneliness, and though she presumed they were all strangers to each other in some way, she knew she would be the outsider in a sea of strangers. Her dormitory was no different. It was a small space that occupied more students than she had imagined. Her corner mate, Neoma, was polite and she imagined they would become friends soon since they looked alike. But Neoma was sometimes distant. She had conversations with that were filled with inside jokes and shared memories that Fatima could not relate to with the other girls. Fatima knew it would take time for her to adjust before she too could share inside jokes with her own friends. So she sat alone on her bed and longed for the comfort of her home, for the sound of the call to prayer that marked the rhythm of her day. A bell did ring, at 4 o'clock, but it wasn't a call for prayer, it was a call for afternoon prep. The students rushed out of the hostel like the building was on fire. And like the many things Fatima did not understand, she looked at them confused by the rush, so she ignored them and took her time. She refused to participate in whatever foolery had possessed them, until a mean-looking senior student banged 3 times on the hostel door and started to drop angry lashes of cane on the bodies of the students she found still in their corners. It made sense then to Fatima why the wise ones rushed out at the sound of the bell. During the free period in the evening, which was used by the students to stand on long queues waiting to call their loved ones, by others to study more, eat more, play sports, bounce, and do whatever they wanted, Fatima felt more lonely and alone. To escape this overwhelming sense of loneliness, she often wandered the school compound, seeking solace in quiet corners where she would think about her quiet simple life in Kano and pray in the language she knew best. It was on one of such evenings that she found herself in the Black Chapel building. There were rumors about the Black Chapel. Everyone told their version of it. Some students said it was called the Black Chapel because it caught fire one night and burnt until morning. By the time they realized, everything inside had turned black. Some others said a group of students went to the chapel every night to perform dark rituals, and one night, they started a ritual they could not complete, and that was what started the fire. Others said the entire school compound used to belong to a family of old evil witches who tormented the community with their evil rituals and offered people as living sacrifices. Because of their evil ways and the innocent blood they had spilled, no one stepped foot on the land after the last member of their clan died, so the land grew into a horrific thick bush. When the missionaries came and asked for a piece of land to build a school in the heart of the community, they gave them the entire land with hope that they would not survive it. The priest built a chapel on the spot where the witches offered innocent souls and buried their dead bodies in order to tame the evil spirits and calm the angry souls. Now, because the chapel was built on that exact spot, the villagers started calling it the Black Chapel. There were 1,001 stories and rumors about the Black Chapel, but the real account of what occurred there was never told, only rumors told in the hostels. Fatima had no idea she had wandered so far off. She heard about the Black Chapel, but she thought, like the madamkoikoi and bushbaby story, it was only a rumor. Until that evening, she had never ventured into that part of the school. She thought about the rumors and became scared as she had flashes of the stories told at night after lights out in their hostels and decided to turn back, but she realized she had a chance to prove that the rumors were in fact untrue and the Black Chapel was only a building that caught fire and burned to the ground. So she started to walk closer to the old building. Fatima's footsteps echoed off the stone walls as she explored the walls of the building. She had intended to find something to prove that it was nothing but an old building, but something about this place felt different, almost alive. She noticed a small, weathered door at the end of the room. The wood was old and splintered, the handle tarnished with age. A shiver ran down her spine as she reached out to open it, half expecting it to be locked. But to her surprise, the door creaked open easily, revealing a darker room beyond. Fatima felt a chill as she looked at the surroundings. The room was a chapel, long abandoned. Judging by the thick layer of dust covering the wooden pews and the cobwebs draped over the statues. A large crucifix hung on the far wall, its shadow looming over the small altar below. But what caught Fatima's attention was the strange markings on the floor, arranged in a pattern she couldn't quite decipher. She swallowed a hard lump down her throat as she realized what this place was. This wasn't just any chapel. It was a place of dark rituals, where someone, or something, had been worshipped long before she arrived at St. Mary's. She feared that the rumors might just be true. Fatima's mind raced back to series of events she had seen in American horror movies as she ran out of the chapel with her heart pounding. Who had been using this place? And why was it hidden away so far off from the school? She couldn't shake the feeling that she had stumbled upon something dangerous, something that she wasn't meant to find. Later that night, unable to sleep, Fatima confided in Neoma, her Kano mate who had been her only source of comfort since arriving at St. Mary's. Neoma was skeptical to have a chat with her about the chapel at first, but the urgency in Fatima's voice made her listen to what she had to say. Neoma found it difficult to believe Fatima, but she was intrigued, so she convinced Fatima they had to investigate further together if what she was saying was true. The next day, the two girls returned to the chapel. Fatima came with a flashlight while Neoma brought a notebook to document their findings. It was an adventure for her. As they explored the room, they found more clues, old, faded photographs of students from decades ago, strange symbols carved into the walls, and a worn-out diary that seemed to belong to a former student named Edeora. Flipping through the diary, Fatima and Neoma uncovered a chilling story. Edeora had been a student at St. Mary's over 20 years ago, and her writing spoke of strange occurrences, secret meetings, and a growing fear that something evil was lurking within the school. The final entry in the diary was abrupt. It was cut off mid-sentence, leaving Fatima and Neoma with more questions than answers. They wanted to stay to find out more, but they needed to be in the chapel for evening prayer, just not this chapel. But they agreed they would return again at night. The seniors on duty that night were out and about, looking for students that would sneak out after lights out, so the girls could not continue their quest as planned, but they knew they had to return. Determined to find out what had happened to Edeora, Fatima and Neoma began to dig deeper. They spoke to older staff members, searched the school archives, and even snuck into the headmistress's office late one night. What they discovered was horrifying. Edeora had died under mysterious circumstances, but her death was ruled a casual accident, though rumors hinted at something far more sinister. The more they investigated, the more they realized that history was repeating itself. Just a week before Fatima's arrival, another student, a girl named Somto, had died in what the school had hastily labeled a tragic accident. But the similarities between Somto's death and Adora's were too glaring to ignore. Fatima couldn't shake the feeling that the same dark force was at work, and that she and Neoma were now caught in its grip. Visiting day was approaching and the students were excited to see their families, but Fatima and Neoma were busy piecing together their puzzle. When Fatima received word that her family had come to visit, the news filled her with a mixture of dread and longing. She missed her family deeply, but she and Neoma had planned to return to the chapel to continue their discovery. However, she knew that her family would marvel at the changes she had undergone since arriving at St. Mary's. Her family's visit was short. Her mother, dressed in traditional northern attire, immediately noticed the differences in Fatima, the way she spoke, her new friend, even the way she carried herself. Fatima asked her mother if the story about the Black Chapel was told during her days in the school. Her mother was surprised to hear Fatima speak about the Black Chapel, but she assured her that it was nothing but a rumor. She tried to ask her mother what if it was not, but she assured her that her own mother went to the school and told her it was a rumor passed from seniors to juniors and it went on from hostel to hostel, a St. Mary's rumor, they called it. Her inquiry about the Black Chapel soon became a conflict that came to a head when her mother discovered the investigation she and Neoma were conducting. Furious, she demanded that Fatima stop immediately and focus on her studies, reminding her that they had sent her here because it was a good school with good records and to become a better version of herself, not to get involved in nonsense. But Fatima couldn't let it go. Neoma's question about why Fatima's grandmother changed from being an Igbo Christian with the name Neko Okoli to Aisha and married a Muslim was something Fatima never thought too deeply about, but it troubled her mind now. She was in too deep and had questions that needed answering. Torn between obedience to her family and her commitment to uncovering the truth, Fatima made a decision that would change everything. In the middle of the night, after everyone had gone to bed, they snuck out of their hostel and returned to the chapel. While staring at the empty space where she assumed a crucifix once hung, she started to see a wooden structure. At first she thought it was her imagination, maybe she was hallucinating. She realized it wasn't her mind playing tricks when Neoma approached the spot and touched it. It felt like picture frames stacked together. They took them down, one after the other, but soon became tired and bored with unstacking old picture frames of students who went to the school ages ago. But that was before they took down the next picture. The lady in the picture looked exactly like Fatima. The resemblance was uncanny and the name on the back frame read, Neko Okoli. The events of the past few days had left them shaken, but the mysterious deaths of Edowa and Somto loomed over them, and the recent finding from the night before, if anything, urged them to continue their investigation. They couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, but neither of them dared to speak of it. They only wondered. Why was Fatima's grandmother's picture there? Did her mother know something? Was she part of this? What happened to those girls? Was it a coincidence that she was in the same school? Was someone playing an expensive prank on them? Were the rumors true? Was there really a cult? Was her grandmother a member of the cult or was she a victim? She had many questions, but very few answers. Thank you for watching the part 1 of St. Mary's Black Chapel. If you enjoyed it and can't wait for the next episode, please like the video so we know how you feel about the story. Plus, if you subscribe to our channel, you'll know when the next part is out. Now before we say goodbye, come closer. Tell us in the comments what you think was going on at St. Mary's. Bye. See you next time.